The people of Africa must have the right to shape their own destiny. Discipline of the mind is a basic ingredient of genuine morality and therefore of spiritual strength. Peace is a day-to-day problem, the product of a multitude of events and judgments. Peace is not an is, it is a becoming. Let us work together to create the world we want, a world of justice, equality, and peace. We must take a stand on behalf of those who cannot speak for themselves. Knowledge paves the way to love, and love in its turn fosters understanding and leads one along the path of great common achievements. Democracy, republics. What do these words signify? What have they changed? The more we look back at the past, the more we lose sight of the future. We must always remember that the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. We should accept diversity and, in turn, learn from it. Diversity is not a threat, but a source of strength. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor. It is our duty to work together for the common goal of humanity. Leadership is a privilege to better the lives of others. It is not an opportunity to satisfy personal greed. We should measure our progress not by the number of millionaires, but by the absence of poverty. We should strive to bring peace and prosperity to every corner of the world. A nation's greatness depends on the progress of its people. In this great future, you can't forget your past. Unity and victory are synonymous. The best and most efficient form of education is that which rests upon training rather than upon instruction. The highest form of human intelligence is to recognize our own ignorance. A real decision is measured by the fact that you've taken a new action. If there's no action, you haven't truly decided. I have lived too long to cherish many illusions about the essential high-mindedness of man. Great principles don't get lost once they come to light. They're right here. You just have to see them again. We must become members of a new race, overcoming petty prejudice, owing our ultimate allegiance not to nations but to our fellow men within the human community. If a strong government finds that it can, with impunity, destroy one group of people, it can destroy any group of people. Those who seek to achieve something should not be hindered by the frivolous. We must encourage and foster the development of a culture of peace. To lead others is to serve them. The end of all knowledge should be service to others. True love is the greatest thing in the world. Our youth must be steadfast and should take advantage of every opportunity to develop themselves in order to serve their country. A well-organized society requires the best of each individual to achieve common goals. Unity should be the cornerstone of relations among nations. In this world, there is no force equal to the strength of a determined people. One cannot approach unity with narrow prejudices and false choices. The betterment of society is not a job to be left to a few. It is better to point out the mistakes in time than to be criticized afterwards. Poverty should be fought everywhere it exists. Education inspires the young to think and develop into responsible citizens. History will judge us by the actions we take. Those who suffer most cry out the least. He who does not seize opportunity today will be unable to seize tomorrow's opportunity. The will to work and the will to succeed should be encouraged in every individual. The present generation must safeguard and extend the achievements of the past. Without progress, there is no stability, and without stability, there is no progress. It is not material wealth, but the humane spirit that makes a nation great. Do not be disheartened by a single failure, for a real success always begins with a failure. We must seek spiritual renewal and foster a sense of brotherhood among all people. True reconciliation must be motivated by love. Understanding begins with communication. Human beings are interdependent. A human being cannot live alone. Love of others is the foundation of our life. Leaders are not born, they are made. To reach great heights, a man must learn to accept his own limitations. We must each find our own path and follow it. Those who seek justice must be just. We must nurture peace and tranquility in our hearts. The development of a nation is measured by the achievements of its people. A true leader must be a servant of the people. The true measure of a man is how he treats someone who can do him absolutely no good. Humanity needs leadership in the great endeavor to uplift the human condition. An awareness of our past is essential to the establishment of our personality and our identity as Africans. Let us work together to overcome our difficulties. We must become bigger than we have been, more courageous, greater in spirit, larger in outlook. We should accept responsibility for our actions. It is not what we receive, but what we give that makes us great. The world belongs to those who will not be slaves. We must not let our prejudices affect our actions. In this world, man must be willing to live for his ideals. There is no substitute for hard work and perseverance. Truth and justice shall ultimately prevail. We must cultivate a love for peace and unity. The greatest weapon in the hand of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. We must recognize that the problems of our time are not insurmountable. To live for others is to live for humanity. We must eliminate the social and economic injustices that oppress our people. Strength lies in unity. We must be vigilant in the pursuit of peace. Our responsibility is to maintain the peace and security of the world. The welfare of our people is our first priority. Education is the key to a bright future. The fight for freedom and equality must be carried on with determination and resolve. We must strive to make the world a better place for future generations. Let us not be led by blind prejudice, but by rational thought. In the pursuit of peace, we must be relentless. The development of a nation is measured by the well-being of its citizens. We must stand up for what is right, even if we stand alone. Justice, love, and peace are the foundations of a strong society. To progress, we must set aside our differences. We must never lose hope in the face of adversity. True freedom requires responsibility and discipline. The strength of a nation lies in the character of its people. We must work together to eradicate poverty and ignorance. Let us seek to build a world where all people are treated equally. The pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong journey. We must foster a culture of mutual respect and understanding. Leadership requires wisdom and compassion. The road to progress is never easy, but it is always worthwhile. We must strive for excellence in all that we do. A nation's greatness is determined by how it treats its weakest members. Our actions must reflect our commitment to justice and equality. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. True leadership is about serving others. We must always strive to be better than we were yesterday. Peace begins with a smile. We must work together to build a better future for all. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. We must learn from the past, live in the present, and plan for the future. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. We must build bridges, not walls. The strength of a community is measured by its ability to come together in times of need. We must seek to understand before we seek to be understood. Our diversity is our strength. We must work together to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to succeed. The true test of a leader is how they treat those who can do them no good. We must be the voice for those who cannot speak for themselves. To lead is to serve. The measure of a society is how it treats its most vulnerable members. We must always stand up for what is right, even when it is not easy. The end result of our work should always be to uplift humanity. We must be ever vigilant in the defense of our freedom. Unity is the cornerstone of our strength. We should seek to live in harmony with one another. Our greatest asset is the determination and resilience of our people. We must strive to create a world free from fear and want. A just society is built on the foundation of fairness and equity. The future of our nation depends on the education of our youth. We must work together to overcome the challenges that face us. True progress is measured by the happiness and well-being of our citizens. We must stand united against all forms of oppression. The strength of our nation lies in the unity of our people. We must always strive to improve ourselves and our society. The pursuit of peace is a noble and essential endeavor. Our actions today will determine the future of our children. We must be willing to sacrifice for the greater good. The true measure of a leader is their ability to inspire and uplift others. We must work tirelessly to ensure justice for all. The foundation of a strong nation is built on the principles of equality and justice. We must strive to build a world where all people are treated with dignity and respect. True leadership requires humility and compassion. The pursuit of knowledge is essential for the advancement of society. We must always seek to do what is right, even in the face of adversity. History teaches us that unity is strength, and cautions us to submerge and overcome our differences in the quest for common goals. We must become bigger than we have been, more courageous, greater in spirit, larger in outlook. We must become members of a new race, overcoming petty prejudice, owing our ultimate allegiance not to nations but to our fellow men within the human community. Throughout history, it has been the inaction of those who could have acted, the indifference of those who should have known better, the silence of the voice of justice when it mattered most, that has made it possible for evil to triumph. A well-informed people is the foundation of any true democracy. It is much easier to show compassion to animals. They are never wicked. Education develops the intellect, and the intellect distinguishes man from other creatures. The preservation of peace and the guaranteeing of man's basic freedoms and rights require courage and eternal vigilance, courage to speak and act, and, if necessary, to suffer and die for truth and justice. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans, which were supposed to help people spiritually. Due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, divisive, and a tool for power struggle. Today, we look to the future calmly, confidently, and courageously. We look to the vision of an Africa not merely free, but united. Leadership does not mean domination. The world is always well supplied with people who wish to rule and dominate others. The true leader is a different sort. He seeks effective activity, which has a truly beneficent purpose. We have before us the glorious opportunity to inject a new dimension of love into the veins of our civilization. A man who says he has nothing to learn is hopelessly ignorant. When we find courage to care for the needs of others, we create a bridge to the highest vision of humanity. One cannot worship the Creator without loving all of His creations. The best and most efficient way to fight poverty is to provide opportunity for self-reliance. We must refuse to be cowed by the chains of limitation and accept the challenges of our times with the determination to succeed. There is no power on earth that can stand against the power of truth. A people without a nation they can really call their own is a people without a soul. The goal of the educational system should be to produce compassionate, knowledgeable, and competent individuals who contribute to the betterment of society. In the mystic traditions of the different religions, we have a remarkable unity of spirit. Whatever religion they may profess, they are spiritual kinsmen. The basis of racial discrimination in the world has begun to be firmly laid. Every laborer is a father. His labor is his child. Choose a project and work on it. Perfect it. The end of all knowledge should be service to others. Peace demands the united efforts of us all. Who can foresee what spark might ignite the fuse? We must look into ourselves and work on what is hidden and what we know we need to change. Education inspires the young to think and develop into responsible citizens. It is not only war that can stop war, but men of goodwill, conscious of their mission, can deal with such deadly enemy. Our youth must be steadfast and should take advantage of every opportunity to develop themselves in order to serve their country. A well-organized society requires the best of each individual to achieve common goals. Unity should be the cornerstone of relations among nations. In this world, there is no force equal to the strength of a determined people. One cannot approach unity with narrow prejudices and false choices. The betterment of society is not a job to be left to a few. It is better to point out the mistakes in time than to be criticized afterwards. Poverty should be fought everywhere it exists. History will judge us by the actions we take. Those who suffer most cry out the least. He who does not seize opportunity today will be unable to seize tomorrow's opportunity. The will to work and the will to succeed should be encouraged in every individual. The present generation must safeguard and extend the achievements of the past. Without progress, there is no stability, and without stability, there is no progress. Do not be disheartened by a single failure, for a real success always begins with a failure. We must seek spiritual renewal and foster a sense of brotherhood among all people.